what's shaking, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Buy or Sell. It's a Friday. We love Buy or Sell. Glad to have you guys with us. Rodolfo, sorry, man, you just took that L in the chat with Andrew Jackson getting in first today.
Love it, Andrew.
Anyway, this video brought to you by the guys over, specifically the guy over at My Perfect Franchise. That would be Andy. Let him help you find freedom in your next venture. Use that email address on the screen. Call that phone number 404-973-9901. The bottom line is, if you're looking to finally start working for yourself, building the dream, if you will, Andy can help make that happen. That's what he does. And we love that he is a partner with us on these shows. Guys, as you filter into the chat, do us a solid, like this video, subscribe to the channel, maybe ring that bell, get notifications, like do all three of those things, and we would appreciate it. And we're oh, I just got distracted by the chat on War because Ben
he did remind this is supposed to be
the roast.
This is so many. We forgot about that. Honestly,
we did.
We've been doing so many things, but this is the promise. Like, A&M people get to ask all their questions.
Well,
we didn't advertise it though.
Or yeah, I mean, we haven't advertised it at all. I'm willing to take the slander and be a good sport about it, but I don't know. We'll figure it out, Ben. We're doing this on the fly. Honestly, we were just thinking, let's do some buy or sell and have a good time on a Friday. What up, Texas boys?
Shirt, though, by the way, I like your shirt.
I might have even worn this earlier this week. You know, it's one of these things like it snuck up on me, and then it was like, oh, it's showtime. I guess I don't have any hair to comb or anything, but you know, it's a good thing I didn't. Otherwise, I'd look fairly homeless this morning. Just been very much a lazy bum all morning long on the Orangebloods message boards, just doing busy work. Anyway, guys, either will roast me. See, I do. Paxton, I think you're right. I don't remember what day it was, but when I grabbed this shirt earlier today, it was in the dirty going to the dry cleaning section, but I wore it because it was already buttoned and I could just like throw it on. That's how lazy. That's how lazy I've been today on War. I'd selected my shirt based on how little effort I would need to put into buttoning it up. So good call, Paxton. You're 100% right. Guys, if you want to get your buy or sell questions in, super chat those bad boys. We'll skip them right to the front of the line. You guys know how the game is played. You ask the question, and Anwar and I kick it around, and we do it in buy or sell format, and we have a good time with it. Our producer, Blake, has got a question raring to go, so let's get the party started. Question number one today, buy or sell. Sark flips at least two currently committed prospects, obviously committed to other teams. Anwar, what do you think?
Hold on. I'm tweeting out something to A&M fans. I'm saying, Texas A&M fans, feel free to join the show right now. Catch wants to know why you guys hate him so much. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I
feel like at the end of the day, my snarkiness and just like general snarkiness, yeah, that's the word. Okay. That may be the thing, right? When you've been a constant smartass for 20 plus years to somebody, that may be it more than anything else. As to this particular question.
Okay, answer the question. Sark flips at least two currently committed players. I would buy that probably just because I think that happens in general, Catch. You know, I don't know what the number of flips are per year, but now the who is the question. But I think in general, Catch, you know, the guys who are committed in July, you know, at this time of year, there's going to be a percentage of those folks that, you know, change their mind somewhere later in the year. Coaching change happens at some point in the year. You know, something happens and it gets thrown off. So I'd buy that, but basically probably just based off of following football for so long and feeling like that's probably about average.
The Sark has shown it. I'm a buy. Sark has shown a tendency to flip guys. I mean, he did it with Anthony Hill a year ago. We've seen him do it with Kelvin Banks, Cam Williams. I mean, every year there have been guys that they flipped. They've lost. They've taken a few L's in recruiting over the course of the last couple of weeks. So suddenly it feels like there might be a couple more spots available. So if you're going to fill those with high school prospects, you're probably going to need to flip somebody. So, yeah, I think they're going to – I think if you set it at 3.5, Paxton, that's where I would have to – because if you set it at 2.5, I think they would get 3. So, yeah, I think they're definitely going to flip 2. I can't tell you who, but Sark's history suggests it's kind of one of his specialties.
Yeah, he flipped Kelvin Banks, and I know some of that was situational, but they did flip Kelvin Banks at one point.
Flip's a flip. I mean,
yeah, it is. It wins a win.
If the school they flip a guy from it's a school that lost their coach, still counts. It's not like, oh, we can't technically count him because of some sort of special circumstances. No, I mean, that's part of the question. So those are certainly the pool of players we would be including as well. Buck Wild jumps in. It's not really a buy or sell question, but because he paid $10, we'll go with it. He wants to know who the 5 most important non-starters are for this season to make a championship run. Again, not a buy or sell question. Buck, this is a warning. Next time it'll be $20. If you're just going to ask some random question, it's got to be in – we got to keep everybody in line. It's got to be in buy or sell format. That being said,
well, hold on. This is a brand new question now because
I've got a few.
Oh, you go ahead with your list. I'm working on my list right now.
I'm going to throw Anthony Hill out there right from the get-go. That guy takes off. You've potentially got most of my guys actually might be freshmen. I want to say the backup quarterback, so probably Maalik Murphy, but I'm going to hold off on that, Anwar, because I don't know if I'm going to put him in the top 5. But, man, if there's an injury at quarterback at all, suddenly the backup quarterback, and that would be Maalik Murphy as of this exact moment and probably throughout camp and going into the season, it's very possible that Maalik would be a top 5. I think CJ Baxter is a guy that jumps out at this point, would be a non-starter going into the season, but might be a starter by the end of the season. Jonte Cook, Ryan Niblett, Isaiah Nayor, if the injury is real. I mean, there are a number of wide receivers that can fit into that category. No tight ends. You could probably pick like a DJ Campbell. I don't know who that 5th offensive lineman is going to be. So whoever loses the battle of the 5th offensive lineman, and then I'll throw Derek Williams out there as another freshman in the secondary that by the end of the year could be one of the team's best players. That's not 5. Let's parch it down. Who are your guys?
Well, those are all the guys I said, because the thing is, like, I wrote down Ryan Niblett. I wrote down Ryan Niblett / Jonte Cook because I'm not quite sure which one of those guys.
Can we count them as one?
I'm counting that as one at this moment. Just because I'm not quite sure which one is going to emerge as the guy. I think Jonte was the betting favorite in the spring. I think, as you and I both have kind of heard, Ryan Niblett has been coming on, very heavy in the summertime. And so I've got to see how that whole thing shapes out. But I want to count that as one for me. I'm with you. I wrote down Cam Williams just because I feel like he's close. Like, he seems to be, and again, is the DJ Campbell. I'm not discounting him. I feel like they really, really want to get Cam Williams on the field. It's not to say that it's a 0 as relates to DJ. This is singular Cam Williams.
Cam could be the starter when it's all said and done. Correct. I mean, again, I think answering the O-line question, I don't know who that guy, I don't know who the starter is. There's a part of me that when I was asked that question thought of Cam as a starter inside, because I think you want to get your 5 best on the field, period.
I'm going to go with CJ Baxter catch because I think at some point he probably emerges as the number 2 guy, within the, this season, maybe he doesn't. And maybe that reverts back to Jaden Blue potentially. But I'm whoever that backup running back is definitely going to be key for me. I'm with you with Anthony and I've got Derek Williams because I think at worst he contributes on special teams this season, but he's a guy that's going to be on the outside looking in, and he'll be pushing guys this spring. I don't know if he's at the point where they're saying, well, we'll start him at safety just because he is a little bit young, but he'll be in the mix that's for sure. He'll see playing time.
I feel like the backup quarterback has to be Maalik has to be one of the 5 because more times than not, I don't know what the statistical answer is. I'll have to go look it up. How many injuries that we've seen at quarterback and how many different starters have been needed during a season. But more times than not, Texas has needed its backup quarterback to play and start. Maybe it's a game. If it's in conference play, suddenly that makes Maalik Murphy incredibly important. If I told you that Quinn got hurt and Maalik starting at Baylor, I mean, suddenly Maalik's pretty important. Yeah. So I'm going to go Maalik.
Okay.
One of the freshman wide receivers. So we're just counting that 2 as 1. Anthony Hill. I'm going to go with your offensive line. Whoever that 6th offensive lineman is, because if they're, I'm going to go Cam Williams.
Okay.
Because if there's an injury, I think Cam Williams is the guy that they would slide in.
Yes.
And then the 5th guy, probably Baxter at that point.
Okay.
We're pretty much in agreement, right?
I think we're in agreement, and I do agree with you as relates to Maalik. No matter what, and that's a video for another day. But goes to someone I had in the war room like that. That having Maalik feel like he's a part of this team is very important, and feel so. Yes, he becomes a guy that it's. I mean, hell, but you're right, Catch. Though these quarterbacks do get banged up. That's just his story. It's a tough position to play. So you're right.
I mean, they may need him if there have been too many seasons where the backup. We saw it last year, right? I mean, how important was Hudson Card to the season? As much as we all kind of give Hudson Card a pat on the back, they treated him with training wheels. They weren't confident in Lubbock to really let Hudson Card let it rip. And, you can point to a lot of reasons why they lost that game, but not having confidence in your quarterback until they needed him to make some miracle plays. And then it was like, oh, crap, maybe Hudson's better than that, right? I mean, so if Maalik's forced to play, are they going to give him, the thing they would have had a year ago that they don't have this year is, oh, okay, well, if Hudson Card's got to start, we've got Bijan and Roshan, and we will lean on that phase of the offense more and not put it into the quarterback's hands. This year, it feels like if there's a quarterback injury and Maalik is your starter, they got to let Maalik turn it loose. Like the strength of this team, it's real strength on Wars at the wide receiver position.
Yes, 100%. Because to your once you get past those starting guys, once you say Whittington and Xavier and AD Mitchell, everybody else starts for a lot of programs in this country. So they've got a plethora of weapons there.
All right, we got no super chat questions. Shame, shame, shame on all of you. What that means is I'm just going to randomly pick one from the crowd. If you want to get your super chat to the front of the line, you know how that works. Paxton, again, he doesn't ask it in the form of a buy or sell question because it has a question mark. But if we ask this as a statement and I say Jalen Catalon is starting at safety week 1, your response is buy or sell?
Sell.
So let's break this down. Who do you think starting at safety? Because I struggle with this the whole offseason. They've got a glut of guys.
They got a ton of guys. I mean,
Thompson's one of your starters.
Jaron Thompson's in. Like
Right.
that, he's viewed as a leader. I feel like he's in.
He's going to be. This will be his 3rd year as a starter.
Yes. So you can go there. I feel. Listen, the name and again, I'm not ready to anoint him, Catch, but the name I keep hearing, I keep hearing about Derek Williams. I haven't heard a lot of buzz as relates to Catalon so far. So I need to wait and see until I get into camp, Catch, and that I'm hearing that name as much as I'm hearing Derek Williams. Okay, but Sark did proclaim that he felt like this guy would be like a 1st-round pick at some point. So I'm waiting. I'm waiting on that. So that's why it's a sell for me right now, because I just feel like there's a Derek Williams buzz going on.
Paxton, the real answer is I don't know. I'm going to buy it, though, because they brought Catalon in for a reason. I mean, there are other spots on this team where they could have used a little bit extra depth. They went out and got Gavin Holmes, and they went out and got Jalen Catalon. And Catalon is a little bit of a lottery ticket. If you're asking me, is Catalon the game 1 starter? I feel a lot better than I do about, is he the end of the season starter? And because that means, he's got to hold off Derek Williams for 12 games, which I don't think they're going to start Williams. Because if you start Williams in game 1, you're telling all those older dudes, you're done. Yes. You're done.
Sure.
You got passed by the younger guy. And considering a couple of those guys are transfers, and I think, I think Catalon starts week 1. How good is Catalon going to be? I have no idea. It's been since the pandemic year, since he was an impact player. Like really good, not injured, playing at a high level. It's been a while since he's been an impact player, so I don't fully know what to expect, assuming he is healthy. But yeah, I think he gets the game 1 start. But I think that position next to Thompson is going to be one that is being competed for throughout the season. And maybe that's one where the month of September decides who's the starter in October, and not necessarily whatever happens in August, Anwar.
Yeah, and I mean, we'd be remiss too if we just throwing it out there, Keaton Crawford, who they liked a lot during the spring. So
he could be the guy. I think that would be disappointing if Crawford starts. It means you wasted your time with Catalon, and maybe you should have gone somewhere else. And clearly they think they needed an upgrade at safety. Like they addressed it in the portal to, if your portal guys aren't starting or really important pieces in a rotation, then you wasted your time in a roster spot. So, you'd think that one of those transfers would be on the field, given how experienced they are. Like, we all kind of dismiss Gavin Holmes, but that's a guy that's played a lot. And why do we dismiss him? Well, because we think about the cornerback position and we think, well, that's really competitive there. The real battle and opening is at safety. I don't know. One of those transfers to me has got to be on the field and starting, or what was the point of that anyways?
Well, Catch up. Can I play? Let me play devil's advocate on that one, right?
Sure.
So in theory, yes, but we've seen with this staff, Jaleel Billingsley was a guy who was a contributor at Alabama, and he got here, and they were like, nah, they were good on him. Ben Davis, wasn't really a contributor there, but he was brought in with that hope that he would be something. At the end of the day, they were good on him, even though he ended up leading the team in sacks.
And he played more towards the end of the season than he did early in the season.
Correct. So, like I said, he led the team in sacks. It was 2.5. But Billingsley, they brought in a guy that, Ajay Hall was supposed to be, a guy who's supposed to be a standout that, Alabama and he could have been something. And there's obviously a lot more that was attached to that than, just the playing thing. But we've seen them bring in guys with the hope that they would be something. And, like the case of Jaleel Billingsley, he ended up getting passed over. So,
Sark has not proven, to your point, that he's good at the portal. I mean, they've hit on, look, Quinn ain't good yet. So they haven't hit on Quinn yet. Nayor gets hurt, so you don't really see him. The portal last year didn't quite have the impact that they had hoped it would have. And then you mentioned that when he first gets here, he's taking these SEC leftovers. But
is Keelan Robinson his best
one? What's that?
Keelan Robinson, his best portal edition?
Watts is the best portal edition.
Okay.
But, you'd like for that answer to have been Watts, Nayor, or Ewers last year. And you have injuries, then you have the Ewers not quite, finding his rhythm over 12 games. The difference is, and I take your point about a lot of those guys. And I would point to Ajay Hall was they knew Ajay Hall was a lottery ticket, and it lottery ticketed. Billingsley got that weird suspension.
Yeah.
And Sanders took off. So then you had a guy that wasn't playing, kind of a malcontent to a certain degree because he wasn't playing, and because Billingsley's probably watching Jatavion Sanders last year and thinking to himself, that should be me.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That should be me.
Yes.
And it doesn't go that way. The difference between Holmes especially, Holmes like a multi-year starter where he's coming from. He could have gone in. He didn't leave as like a senior or as a junior to go to a school that he wasn't going to start at after having been a multi-year starter. I don't know. I'm again, the secondary has got questions probably more with regards to how personnel is going to be used than maybe any other position outside of offensive line. And everything else, I feel like we kind of know. Those, it's like, man, there's like 8 or 9 guys that could all play. We got a super chat question. You ready? Buy or sell. This one's coming from Just a Dude. Quinn not having Bijan to lean on will catapult him into a monster season. He's saying that will be the thing that does it, right? Not he's got badass receivers, not he's developed more and he's in year 2. The question is specifically the not having the Bijan thing there forces Quinn into the kind of player that produces a monster season.
It's an interesting question. I don't know how not having Bijan makes you better as a quarterback. You're basically saying like the running game is kind of average, so he has to throw a little bit more. But more throws means more risk as well. So I'm not I'm not quite sure about that. I'm going to sell the connotation that not having Bijan would make him better. I think there's other things that will make Quinn better this season, but I don't think the losing an NFL running back or two for that matter would actually make him better. I'll sell on that premise.
Well, think of it like this, Anwar. If Bijan were on this team, we would be like much more. I'm definitely picking Texas to win the Big 12 championship if Bijan Robinson is on this team, right? I'm kind of on the fence. I'm like, they could go 9-3 and they get into the game, but I don't know what Bijan confidently makes me pick this team to win the Big 12. It also doesn't make me suddenly think that Quinn's not going to be a lot better. I mean, I don't think Bijan's was holding, or the presence of that running game was holding Quinn back a year ago. It helped him a hell of a lot more than it hurt him. But I think it's just much more important that it's year 2, second year in the system. We've talked all offseason about how much more of a commitment he's made just to his craft. So just a dude, I'm going to sell. I think there's a million reasons why Quinn may have a monster season. Bijan not being there is not it for me. Or Anwar, as fate would have it. Another buy or sell question in the super chat. Thanks for the super. Oh, look at you, Longhorn.
We'll talk about this.
Yeah, no, when you go 20 in the super chat, you get, we sit down for a moment. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, we got this.
Buy or sell. Regardless of who the top 5 O lineman is, Texas will need all 8 offensive line guys in 2023. Banks, Connor, Nato, Majors, Hudson, and you listed Hudson again, Campbell, Jones, and Williams. Add to that, you can see 4 or 5 of the 22s on the field for the offensive line.
Oh, well, I'll sell on that.
I'm selling as well.
Yeah, if you've got that much rotation going on your offensive line, you've got chaos at that point. Catch, if you got 8, if they're rotating 8, catch, that means the majority of them aren't good.
Well,
you don't want that.
I think I won't completely buy that part of it, right? I mean, here's the thing. I've been covering Texas football a long damn time, creeping up on 3 freaking decades. Texas has never had so much offensive line depth that they were just rotating because we just got all this depth. So, I've never seen that before. I mean, even when the other thing is these offensive line coaches, they like to have their guys. And you're right. If there's a rotation taking place, it's because the guy who's starting hasn't just walked away with the damn thing. So I think the number is more likely to be 6 or 7. I don't think it's going to be 8. And I think that it probably means after this season, you're probably going to see a transfer or 2. But I don't know that Kyle Flood wants to play 8. I think he wants to have 6. But I think he wants his 5 to not need to be replaced in games. He didn't want to play both DJ Campbell and Cole Hudson last year. That was Cole Hudson's job. And then when he wasn't performing really at a high enough level and the injuries started to kick in, you started to see that rotation. No, I just don't see him playing 8 on War. And the thing is, I think they've got 8 guys that they would like to play, right? You probably,
Sure.
I'll pick NATO as an example. That kid just signed a new NIL deal. They're taking care of him. They're making sure he wants to stay. But I don't know that he's definitely playing in front of Hayden Connor. I don't know that he's playing ahead of Hudson and DJ Campbell. He might be on the outside looking in. So it's not an issue of do they have 8 guys that they could put on the field and feel good about? The answer to that may be yes. But will they need all 8? I think only if there are injuries.
Yeah, I mean, because Catch, there's 2 things I was thinking about as you're talking. First of all, you're not taking Kelvin Banks off the field,
Ever.
Right? I mean, ever, right? So that's one spot that you say that you can just forget about that.
You also never rotate centers.
That's the number. That's the other thing. So that's 2 spots that I was going to say, Catch. You don't rotate that. So that only leaves really 3, right? And so at that point, you still want your cohesiveness, and so you may rotate in one guy, just to give a guy a rest or something to that effect. But for the most part, you only have 3 spots that you're really working with, and that's it. So, at that point, it's either chaos or injuries, and you don't want either of the two. And I think too, you also said something, about like them. They do have 8 guys that they like, and they've got 8 receivers that they've liked. They've got, 3 quarterbacks that they like.
They got 5 running backs that they like.
We're at the point, where I think next year, I think Texas fans have just got to brace themselves and know, like, guys are going to bounce.
Yeah, it happens.
It's going to happen, and that's why you stack so much talent, and you just keep stacking it and stacking it, because you've got to prepare yourself to know that guys are going to go. Like, there's going to be beforehand. We've never really seen a lot of like, oh snap, that guy left. Like, that kind of sucks. Like, I think after next season, you're going to see some good players just say, man, I got to go find somewhere else to play. I've been sitting here for a couple of years, because that's what happens when you stack talent. I think you got to get ready.
Longhorn, I think it'd be, to me, things have gone bad if Texas needs all 8. It's not how they want to play. It probably means you've had a couple of key injuries. And so I'm not saying that they won't need all 8. Okay? But I'm saying only if injuries occur. And if injuries don't occur, then it would mean that guys aren't performing at a high enough level. Then it's like we're rotating both guards at that point. Like, you don't bring Christian Jones. I don't think Christian Jones is coming back. And he had a good year a year ago. Like, you're not taking too often. Not enough to say, I can see him taking Christian Jones out occasionally for a series.
Yeah.
And a guy gets to play 3 or 4 plays, 5 plays, and then you don't see him the rest of the game. Like, did you really need him? Or did he play? If you're asking, will 8 guys play? Yes. Will they need 8? Man, you better hope not. Because the hope is all these guys are improvements from a year ago. They're all young. Everybody but Christian Jones is going from young underclassmen to older underclassmen. And in with a guy like Majors, okay, now he's in his 3rd year, right? So now he's an upperclassman. But for the most part, all these guys are still really young. Even Kelvin Banks. I mean, Banks is only a sophomore. And I think, honestly, Onward, for me, you're not messing with your tackles. They rotated inside last year because they had to. But they could have put a freshman on the field last year instead of Christian Jones. And they were like, no, we're keeping his ass on the field all the time. And it paid off for him. He had a really good year. We got a couple of other super chats, so let's just go right to it.
Good question, though. Good question.
Texas, but good question, though. It made for a good conversation, good discussion. Texas Boy asks, Jonathan Brooks has a 100-yard game week 2 and holds Bama quarterback under 50. So if I understand this correctly, Jonathan Brooks is going to rush for 100 yards against Alabama, and they're going to hold whatever quarterback that plays for Alabama under 50 yards rushing.
50 yards rushing, or not passing, right? We're just talking about.
I mean, I don't know what the 50
it says QB under 50.
Yeah, so I think, is that a Jalen Milroe question? Texas Boy, clarify in the chat.
Yeah.
I don't want to not answer your question the way you meant it to be asked. Sell on Jonathan Brooks having a 100-yard game against Alabama on the road. Nope, don't see that. I mean, I'm not saying it can't happen, but I'm certainly not predicting that going into the game.
I mean, hold on one second, Catch. I'm going to sell on that one, and I'm looking up so I can have the specific here. Just give me 5 more seconds.
I think he's saying rushing yards because he said yes in the chat.
Okay, so
no, I don't think Texas will hold Alabama's quarterback to under. I think if Milroe starts in that game, Milroe is going to rush for more than 50.
Okay, so I just had to look it up. Bijan at home had 73 rushing yards versus Bama last season at home. So now where I'm expecting Brooks to surpass what Bijan did on the road in a place that Alabama plays well and usually doesn't lose. It's asking a lot to me. And then do you hold him under 50 yards? I'd probably sell on that one as well. I'm not. Here's why. I want to sell him Milroe being under 50 yards. I'm not 100% sold on Milroe as a passer.
Yeah. If you said 200 yards passing,
I could see him going under for that.
Me too.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I'm just not sold him as a passer. And I think the only way that he gets anything going is just going to have to be like broken plays and extending plays. Like, I think that will be, his secret sauce. And that's why I want to say, no to that. If he was a pocket guy, I can see that argument, but he's going to have to run.
Although, look, we look at all of this goes back to the conversation that you and I have all the time, Anwar. Just because a guy is a year older doesn't mean he's automatically better. No. However, there is the capacity that Jalen Milroe could be better this year in the same way that we look at all of the guys on the Texas roster, especially the young guys, and say, well, you'd think they're going to be better this year. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. Milroe could be good enough to the point where he's not just living off of broken plays, but he has to make a lot of progress, I think, from what we've seen a year ago. And there's no guarantee that he wins that job. No. And if he doesn't win the job, then I'll take the under on Alabama quarterback rushing yards. I don't know that the other guys competing for that spot. That's Jalen Milroe's secret juice, being able to get loose and like put a threat on you with his legs. It'd be a little bit like playing Jalen Hurts. Like maybe we don't exactly know what Jalen Hurts is going to do in the passing game from week to week, but that dude's going to get him some yards.
Yeah.
Just a dude back again in the super chat. Don't think we don't appreciate that, Justice, a dude. Buy or sell, beating Alabama will be a catalyst for Texas getting a top 5 recruiting class in 2024.
Ooh, I'll let you go with that one, Catch.
Well, sell for 2 reasons. I don't think Texas is beating Alabama. I mean, first and foremost. So I would sell that. Individual game. Let me tell you what beating Alabama would give Texas a big shot in the arm for 2025. Problem is, man, you get to September and there really aren't a lot of guys that are looking to shake off their coat. It happens, but guys are kind of headed in the direction that they're heading in. So I think Texas is at this point in time, I think they're going to get Colin Simmons. I think they're going to get Kobe Black. And the source I talked to earlier this week thinks that they're the leader for Brandon Baker. That is 3 borderline 5-star prospects at a minimum. Like that's, and when I say minimum, I mean those 3 guys are all borderline 5-star prospects at worst as prospects. Colin Simmons isn't just a 5-star; he's a high 5-star. A lot of people think Brandon Baker is the best offensive line prospect in the country. So I think they don't have to beat Alabama to get those 3 guys. So the question is going to be, would beating Alabama alone be enough to make up the difference of what would be? I don't think so. I don't know if there's enough meat on the bone to completely get Texas to a top 5 class that beating Bama changes the dynamics too much. But if Texas gets some momentum going, it helps solidify the guys that I think they're already getting. And it sets the stage for 2025 to really have some rocket juice. But it really is hard for individual wins in a season where a guy's already a senior. A lot of times that stuff just doesn't change those recruitments that much.
Well, and here's why. I'll give you the easiest example for that one too, Catch, is Texas finished 5-7 and still finished with an elite class.
Yep.
And so you had guys who attended individual games and watched Texas lose, so the opposite would then have to be true, which would be if a win means that you get more, then the opposite would have to be true, which means losses mean you get less. But we've seen Texas lose and still get guys. So to your point, it doesn't really equate, to that. It's good moments, but it's not like, oh my God, that just happened. Now I got to flip my entire recruitment. Guys go, that's great, good for Texas, but I'm still either going to go to, Texas because I always wanted to go there. I'm going to go to the other programs because I always want to go there.
Most recruits that wait into the season to make announcements have NIL on the brain at this point. Like, that's the new reputation. If it's November and there's still a recruiting battle taking place, that's as much NIL. So now it's NIL, playing time, or momentum from beating Alabama. I can tell you the two most important things are playing time and NIL. And as gassed up as guys will get about, hey, you beat Alabama, they're going to want to know about that check first and foremost.
Correct.
Let's not be naive about it. Like, if we're getting to the point where there's some late decisions being made, more times than not in 2023, going into 2024, NIL is a big part of it. And there'll be people who are like, that's not why guys are picking schools. And it's like, no, it is actually. No, it's okay to say it.
Want to.
I heard that. So Brandon Baker, this offensive lineman out of California, that's a borderline. I think he's the number 25 prospect for Rivals.com right now. At the end of this year, Rivals will have 32 5-stars. They will. They copy kind of what the NFL draft does. So if he just stays where he is, Brandon Baker is going to be a 5-star. I heard this week, and I've heard this for a couple of weeks, that the thing that has him as interested in Texas as anything is NIL. We know they've got the Pancake Factory. We know that guys get taken care of. We know that T'Vondre Sweat came back this year because they were like, hey, we'll make it worth your while in NIL. So I think that, and I think you guys should be excited for that, because I hear more bitching than anything else. It's like, oh, A&M is going to be paying guys before they get onto campus, allegedly. Whoa, what is Texas going to do? And Oklahoma is spending money. And it's like, guys, Texas is regarded as a powerhouse in NIL. They really are. And the recruitment of a guy like Brandon Baker is perfect proof of that. By the way, Baker lives in California, and the state laws in California are such that he's basically allowed to have a business manager who can already solicit NIL deals for him. The state laws in California are completely different than where they are in other states. Can't do in Texas what you can do in California, Anwar. But the inability to use NIL as a stronghold was one of the things that helped get DeAndre Moore, also from California. So, I think Texas fans need to be more confident about what their NIL is doing for them. Texas isn't accidentally signing these top 5 classes because of the spirit of, by God, bringing Texas back and playing for that burnt orange and state pride. Like, no, the NIL is helping too.
It's not about just getting into McCombs, huh? I mean, Catch, there are a few. there are a few. Catch, I don't want to go off the rails, but there's if there's anything that just annoys me right now, like just really agitates me, is when I hear people complain about NIL. Like, when I hear coaches complaining about NIL and they're sending people to talk to folks in Congress, and bills are wanting to get proposed, and I'm just like, stop. Just these wine. There's a lot of curse words that I want to use, but it just gets on my nerves. I'm not gonna lie. We'll get to the super chat.
Barry, I'm gonna buy your buy or sell, and not just because it's you asking the question. We saw Barron play well against Alabama a year ago. And look, you know what, Barry? I'm gonna be honest. You being in the chats has me thinking that Barron must be one focused joker. Because we got confident Barry who is like, don't sleep on Barron, coming for those all Big 12 honors this year. We want double-digit sacks. When we say that it might be tough to get 10, Barry don't want to hear that. I feel like the expectations internally for Barron Sorrell is that he's about to have a breakout and be one of the best defensive ends in the Big 12. And like, I'm on that train. I think at the end of this season, Barron Sorrell is going to be first team all Big 12. So I've got him getting a sack against Al. And look, part of that is I don't think the competition for Barron to be first team all Big 12 this year is as tough as it was a year ago when there was some first round draft picks that you'd be competing with. Tech had a guy. Kansas State had Big Frank, the Freak. Barron, I think you could make a case that Barron's as good right now off of what he did a year ago as any defensive end in the Big 12. So I'm buying Barry. I know I'm Mr. Negativity sometimes, but I'm buying a sack against Alabama. Dominance against their offensive tackles. That's subjective, Anwar. What does dominance mean to you?
I think dominance just means like it's not every play because that's impossible to
Correct.
do, right?
That's
but
why I'm asking.
I do believe what that means is that they at the end of the day, they're gonna be like, we remember that guy. Like that guy, that's the eye-opening breakout. Like he went ahead. So that's like 1.5 sacks. That's like, you know.
Oh, you know what? If we're talking 6 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, and one of them being a sack. Yeah. I'll buy that.
I could see that. Here's what I know. You're a parent. I'm a parent. We have 2 kids. I got 2 kids. I'm not coming out and barking on the porch unless I feel like my kid has really got it going on, right? That's the one thing I give about Barry. Like he stays on this porch. Like he's not that guy that's on the porch, that dog that barks on the porch and then walks it back somewhere else. Like that you just walk down this street, you know that dog is going to be barking at you from the time you get to that gate to the other end of the gate and then down the street. He stays consistent. And my kid plays sports. Your daughter, I think she still plays softball, right? Or she's still doing it. But it's not. I ain't talking unless I feel like I know Max is just gonna dominate. Like I can't imagine myself in someone's chat like, man, Max is gonna kill it. You ain't scoring no goals on my son this weekend. It's a shutout going on. Buy or sell, like you know. So.
But the thing is, Barron was close a year ago.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, you could watch Barron at his best, and you can see that guy plays on Sundays. But week in and week out, he wasn't a Sunday player. So the question is Barron at a point where he's ready? I think the guy plays on Sundays. I think he's already a really good player. It's about taking that next step. And I think he does it this season, but we still have to see it. It is, and quite frankly, it's the conversation piece that we're having with a lot of guys on defense. Everybody but Jalen Ford. We're waiting to see if Jahdae Barron truly becomes an All-American.
Yeah.
We're waiting to see is Watts gonna be a best cornerback in the Big 12? Is Murphy and Sweat, are they gonna elevate and be big time guys and not just really solid rotational players? A lot of dudes on that defense, everybody not named Jalen Ford, at times last season knocked on that door where you can see it. You go, that's why they're playing. That's why they have a chance to play on Sundays. That's why they have a chance to be a first-team All Big 12 player if they can tap into that every week. It's the thing that I want to see from Sorrell. And the thing is, if he doesn't do it, I don't think anybody else can, at least in the capacity that they will be asking him to produce. They need him to be that dude on War. They really do.
I mean, yeah, I know, but I'm telling you, Catch, I want to say this one more time because I agree. But I tell you what, this team has, I think, the components of they remind me so much that if I had the potential, and I know potential is a dangerous word, of that 2019 LSU team, where you'd go into that season and you just see, you think Joe Burrow was just a dude. Like I'm looking at Joe Burrow's, and I know we're talking about Barry. I'm just going to Joe Burrow, his quarterback passer rating catch that year was 133.2. So you're just
that's very Quinn Ewers-ish.
Correct, right? So we're talking about Quinn as a comparison, right? I can compare that and I'll go, just a guy. Then all of a sudden he takes off. Look at those receivers, and we're looking at receivers here that we say they're probably playing the NFL. That you so on and so right. There was not a whole lot of guys going into that season that you said to yourself, it was just an LSU team that had won maybe 8 games or something like that the year before. And I think that might have been 8 games the year before. And you just thought, there's just a team. And then all of a sudden it took off. He could be back to bringing it all the way back to Barron. He could be why and be a part of that thing that kind of helps everybody take off. Because if he takes off, Catch, I mean, this defense is cooking with grease. I don't give a damn if Patterson's here or not. Like, if he's here and he does the damn thing, then, if he's a 10-sack guy, then this defense is definitely one of the better ones, not only in the Big 12, but in the country.
You got to walk before you can run, but I feel like Texas has walked. They've walked.
Yeah.
So now it's like, okay, yeah, take that expression and ramp it up a little bit, like jog a little bit. And they've jogged some. It's the thing that makes you think they can get into a sprint mode. By the way, look at Barry. Barry coming out swinging. Ovie Ogofu starting at LSU. Facts. I don't know what to say to that, Barry.
I don't know. That's such a random statement. Like I don't know. No one had talked about. Maybe he was playing off of my LSU thing. So maybe he was just. I don't know.
Someone maybe said something in the.
Yeah, maybe there's something going on in the chat.
The thing about Ovie is Ovie's a good player. Ovie's just not a great player.
Yeah.
Because if he's great, he'd have gone pro. I mean, he's stuck in that good enough that he can play for almost anybody. I mean, he's about to have the rare trifecta of Notre Dame, Texas, and LSU on his football resume, which that's never happened before, ever. Nobody's ever done that. And he didn't start at Notre Dame, but he was in the rotation. He played in a playoff game. He starts at Texas and has a solid season. Ovie Ogofu is a fully capable starting level player for a pretty decent team. I just don't know that he's better than that, which is why he's at LSU right now, because I think Texas wants more than Ovie Ogofu production, but not taking it for granted either, which is why LSU wanted him. It's like, well, you know what? We could use a guy that'll get us 4.5 sacks. That's actually not terrible. If you ain't got anybody getting any, 4.5 sounds like that person in the desert who you give the Ritz cracker to, right? It's like, that's the best cracker I ever had in my life. Oh,
Yeah.
So anyway,
it does help. It does help that he knows Brian Kelly, from the Notre Dame days, right? And then Brian being at LSU, so there's that familiarity as well.
Guys, I'm gonna give you 60 seconds. You can get your super chat questions in. We're gonna wrap this bad boy up. if you want to get them in now. Onward, do you have any final thoughts? I mean, it's the final weekend before the start of Texas football.
Man, man, like this is it, man. I'm looking forward to it. So it's kind of we start grinding next week, right? So, the practice, the first practice will be on Wednesday. We got some media availabilities on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday night availability for us. That'll probably be I'm guessing the only availability. Like, Sark ain't trying to hold this thing open in training camp. Like, that's it. You guys get your little things and then get it the hell out. That'll be it. But I'm looking forward. Well, first of all, looking forward to the weekend, right? I mean, I'm still kid free, so I mean, I'm still going to enjoy.
Are you watching the fight this weekend?
So I don't know yet because I'm going to go see Austin FC as well. So I have to. I'm an Austin FC guy. So
going to a soccer game match is going to be more fun than watching the boxing on TV.
But
wait, so is that a date for you? Is that a game date?
I'm going out, Catch. That's all that anybody needs to know.
Free.
Hey, Philip, listen.
And I'm not going. So someone's got to go.
Hey, listen, I don't know who is or isn't watching, Catch.
Are you cheating on me? Do you have a soccer boyfriend? Like you?
Nah.
You're cheating on me with that you're talking soccer with around my back?
Nah, the only boys in my life are my kids. That's it. So that's it. I mean, you gotta understand, Catch. I don't know who's watching. Unk's single. I don't know who's watching.
Fair enough.
Who's not watching. So I can't say what I'm doing. All I'm telling you is I'm doing something.
Fair enough.
I'm doing it with.
Okay. You're fair enough. You're right. You're right. I got to protect the Unk. Final buy or sell question of the day before we go into the weekend. Here's the buy or sell. The running back room, thank you, Buck Wild, as a whole has more yards and touchdowns than Rojan and Bijan combined for last year. So
this is the off season of when you just tell yourself and convince yourself that, you know what, it's the kid. I think we're going to be, Quinn's going to be better because Bijan's not there. Like, and you know what? I think these running backs who haven't really done a whole lot over a 12-game season, I think they're going to have more touchdowns than two guys who are in the NFL right now. One guy who is going number 3 or 4 in fantasy football drafts, and then Roschon Johnson, who I've just seen something the other day, Catch, who was getting the number 2 reps in camp, and they absolutely love him in Chicago. I can't necessarily go all of a sudden, yeah, man, I think these backups are better. I love the question, Buck Wild, but you are going Buck Wild right now. I love it, but you are Buck Wild.
Look, here's the thing. I don't want to discourage our guy from throwing in those last-ditch buy or sell questions at the very end. I mean, we want those. I literally solicited the question. You got a minute. Get your question in. He got the question in, but you might, Texas boy is firing it in. We have a better O-line, though. Tell yourself what you got to tell yourself, Texas boy. We're at the point,
oh boy,
where the off-season heroin pixie dust. We all need rehab. All of us. That's the beauty. We're almost at a point where we can all go to rehab and actually see actual football and not do this thing where it's like, well, they're going to have a better offensive line. So it doesn't matter that Bijan and Roschon were 2 of the top 5 backs in the last decade of major conference running backs that made guys miss and had yards after contact. Like, they're 2 of the top 5 running backs in the last decade in major college football at doing things that good offensive linemen don't help them do. And now those guys are gone. And you just say things like, well, the offensive line's better. So 3,000 yards rushing and 40 touchdowns. Here we come. I think the stats increase is in the passing game, and it's obvious.
Yeah.
And Texas can have a good running game on War and not come close quite to Roshan and Bijan were doing together. But I think the passing game was, we're going to look at the end of the year, there might be 1,000 more passing yards. And you're not going to have 1,000 more passing yards and the running game be statistically better.
No.
It will be good enough. It will be more than capable, but this team's going to win. They're going to score. If they're scoring 50 regularly, it's because Quinn's airing that bad boy out. And the depth of receivers that Texas has, I think, leads the way. That's my final comment.
I'm 100% sold on you. What do you got going on this weekend?
I don't know, man. I got to call my mom and see if she's down for the babysitting thing. Because if that's the case, I don't know. I'm unlike you. I'm married. I don't know what I'm doing later today. When you're married and you got kids, if it's not kids' plans, a lot of times you just don't have plans. Kind of like I need my MLS to come back fully. You know, these League Cup games, just kind of do without. I'm ready for the season to pick back up. Anyway, guys, thank you. Thank you to Texas Boy. Thank you to Buck Wild. Thank you to Longhorn. I'm trying to think of everybody that participated in the Super Chat today. Good questions.
Barry.
Oh, thank you, Barry. For real. Because Barry knows we probably put his question up there anyway, and he did the Super Chat anyway. That's good looking out, Barry. We got you back. Don't worry about it. For myself and Anwar Richardson, who have varying degrees of plans this weekend, you guys have a fantastic weekend. If there's breaking news of any kind, this Gary Patterson thing turns out to be something that breaks, we'll come back. We'll possibly do a video depending on.
You'll come back. I won't. I can tell you that much.
I'll be back with somebody else on the staff.
You're the one who said you don't have plans.
Anwar's like, catches writing checks that his ass cannot cash.
You'll be back.
Somebody will be back. Maybe AI. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But at the very worst, we'll see you guys on Monday with the Monday Overreaction Show. A special Monday Overreaction Show that, well, will only make sense in like seven days. For myself and Anwar Richardson, thanks so much. Like the video, smash something, smash the bell, smash the subscription button, just smash some things that aren't an upside down thumb. And we'll see you guys next week. Later.